What is going on? Welcome back to this hobby of ours. Hope that this finds you well. In today's video, a very special operator, Omega Seamaster 300 OG from 63 or thereabouts. But it is a WatchCo. John, this video's for you, brother. Rare break in the weather, so I had to ditch the sweater. See how long it lasts. It's 62 degrees. A word to the wise: if you're in a position to record an event or you want to do some YouTube videos of your own, make sure the microphone works, number one. Number two, make sure the record button is on. Oh my goodness. You big dummy. Alright, getting into watches. And picking it up from the top, I'm actually going to run a Macy's Gambit on a G-Shock. The Casio has re-released the very first of their green DW5600s, and with the gold tinted module and everything. Those are going for like $600, $900 right now. The real ones from back in 1991. I can't justify that. Plus, it's resin, right? So that's going to crack and give way. So I might as well get a new one. You know me, I love green watches. Anything that I could semi-color coordinate with the Mustang, I'm a nut about. It's $100, which is not a lot. But if I can root through and get a coupon, I might call Big C, see if his wife has a Macy's card. See if I can get a coupon for it. And I don't know, maybe get knocked down to $80. Why not? Who cares, right? Just finished a run to not Home Depot, Lowe's. Had to get some piping and so forth, doing some makeshift camera gear setups at the crib. And excited about that. Gonna test some things out. My channel is not a photography channel, but I would like to increase the quality of my watch photography with some alternate surfaces and maybe some different lighting. If you're into that sort of thing, check. If you probably already are, but Bark and Jack, Adrian Barker over there, fabulous channel, and really great for photography in general and watch photography. For that matter, Ushin on Timeless Watch channel, he's got a great channel for that as well. Just this beautiful videography and so on and so forth. So check out those channels if by some strange reason you are not already. All right, the watch of the day, horology du jour, Omega Seamaster 300. This is not an original one. I should say it is original Omega, but it is not from the original period. This watch is not quite a Franken watch, not a parts watch, but it's got a little bit of that flavor in its DNA. What happened? So this model was built and debuted in 63, and for some reason I thought it was 68. But all the different parts centers, the authorized watchmakers, authorized service centers, they're around the world. The one in Australia was actually called WatchCo, and they stocked up on parts, cases, bezels, crowns, movements, crystals, the whole 9 yards, anticipating that there would be a high rate of return, high rate of repairs needed, and there wasn't because the watch was made so well. And the thing is, at some point in their history, they either lost their contract with Omega, or maybe when Omega got brought into the Swatch Group, something like that. But they had all these watch parts left over. And I'm sure it was somebody in the accounting department said, hey, we got all these parts, let's just make some watches. And that's what they did. 100% OEM Omega watches. They will be serviced by Omega. Everything's on there is an Omega part. The one unique thing is the case does not have a serial number on it. It's a service case. And these watches are fabulous. And it was a thing for quite a while, but they've near as I can tell, they've more or less run out. They aren't on the market anymore. But occasionally what you'll see is an enterprising individual who either has access to Omega parts or a watchmaker, and they'll commission the build. They'll have their watchmaker order all the parts in. Last I heard from the guy I was talking to, $2,500, $2,700 in parts, and then the labor, whatever the guy was going to charge whomever, you're looking at $3,700 probably. But those days are now gone too. The word on the street is that Omega is cutting off these parts either from a manufacturing standpoint or whatnot. So hunting one of these for my buddy John from the New York City meetup. What's up, John? And my buddy G's sister wants one. And there's a date and a no date model. The reference number varies by 1 digit. This here is the no date. I kind of prefer it for this aesthetic. So what do you do? I mean, the ones, I'll call them vintage, WatchCo, and Franken, because we got a Franken story too. So the vintage pieces, rocking 8 Gs, if not 12. And with all the WatchCo parts out there, and who knows what went where, I don't feel comfortable. I wouldn't feel comfortable spending that amount of money on it. You're in Submariner range at that price point. Not that it's the same thing, but that's 12 Gs for a vintage piece is a lot. That's a lot of money. You can tell a WatchCo from the vintage pieces because it looks brand spanking new, and it more or less is new. Looms up, everything. Love it, love the piece. Okay, so what do I mean by Franken watch? This is more or less a semi-Franken, not really a Franken, because it's all original parts. Now, getting into the Franken watch, there's a guy and his buddy, his brother maybe, on Etsy.com, and they are, complete transparency. They're telling you what you're doing. They're telling you what they're doing, and they are somehow refurbishing watches. It's a mix of OEM parts and aftermarket parts, and the price points, there's like 4 or 5 watches of theirs listed on there at any given moment. The price point varies based on what's original, what's OEM, or what's original, OEM, and what's aftermarket. They're all using Omega movements. The movements in these were very common. They were across the Omega line, so they're inexpensive in and of themselves. I think it's the 552 and 556, or 565. And so there's the case, the crown, the crystal, the bezel. It's an interesting prospect. Price range is $1,700 to $2,500, depending. It's compelling. It's a compelling option, especially when you consider that WatchCos aren't popping. If they do, they're going to be $5 to $6 grand at this point. The originals, the OGs, $8 to $12 grand. I don't know. I really don't know where they're getting those bezels. And the bezel insert is their Achilles foot, Achilles tendon of their build, because the bezel insert doesn't look right. The loom doesn't look quite right. So I'm tempted to pick up one of those. And I've definitely recommended it to John and G's sister as an option. I figure it this way: if you pick one of their more expensive builds that has, the original case back, crown, obviously it has the movement. All their builds have the movement, and then get one that has a janky bezel, and then maybe you're in at 18, $2 grand. Then you take some money and you go on eBay and you buy one of the originals, one of the OEMs for, they should be $300. They were $300 out of Omega, but they could be $600 to $800, $1,200. And then you've got pretty much the watch. You've got pretty much the WatchCo version of the watch, roughly. I might email those guys and see if they would do that. I don't know, it's interesting. Really interesting. Omega will service the WatchCo watch. It's not a fake. It's not a Franken even. It's unusual. It has an unusual history to it, but it's all original. So what are you gonna do? I don't know. Think about it. I am thinking about it. maybe you should think about it too. There's a really great website that I want to turn you on to about this watch, about the vintage piece. I almost call it the real one. The vintage pieces, and I'm gonna shoot a little screen grab of it. This guy, this team, whoever put this together, is absolutely brilliant and hilariously thorough. And if you look at this website, you're hunting these, you want to tell the good from the bad or what to expect. This website is this body of work they put together, amazing. All right, let's check it out. Here we have that really awesome website, www.omegaseamaster300.com, for this reference. And let's begin the journey here. Let's see, where do we go here? Introduction. Going all the way back into the history of Omega dive watches. See, this is what we're looking for. A bunch of bezel variants, bracelet variants, straps, crown notes, bunch of casing. Oh, this might make a nice little poster. Case backs, dials, handsets, history of the movement. There we go, 552, 565. Gallery of examples, rogues gallery, and prices, price recommendations. So let's see, who is this? Doesn't give a person's name. This person, whoever you are brilliant. At T_solo_T at Insta, solo at omegapassion.com, and his thank yous. Amazing resource. Now, looking at that option on Etsy, kind of the wild, wild west. I don't know what is going on with these, where these were sourced, but there are a couple different sellers. The one I was looking to recommend, perhaps for us both, is this Chrono Divine or the Swiss Collection GB. These seem to be the same lister. If we zoom in on one of these, this is what I'm talking about, the breakdown of the items in the build. Aftermarket bezel, crown, leather strap buckle. The only challenge thing is we've got some refurbishment and some repainting. If they've done a great job, oh, hello Isaac. If you've done a great job, Isaac, then this is pretty awesome, especially considering the price point. He's got one for 26, one at 22, and then there's these other sellers with parts. I'm intrigued by this one because I like the look of this bezel insert. And if I could get my hands on a $400 movement, and I suspect a crown stem since it doesn't show the crown stem here, let's call it 500 bucks plus this 800. And if I'm being honest, I'll have to send it to my watch guy because putting these hands on is a bear. I could be into this for under $2 grand. It's an option. And here we have the date version. This one is probably, I don't know, is probably the real deal from back in the day, as opposed to something that's been assembled. Yeah, I got the same sellers popping here. We got Antiques by Martin for this one. Let's look at this one. That bezel insert does not, I don't know. I just don't know enough about the wacky parts. Let's see, this person is not telling us anything about it, although it's, part of it is written the same, so I don't know if these sellers are copying one another or if it is just the same duo that's doing it. It's an intriguing option, especially when you consider that WatchCos aren't popping and the OGs are at 13K, so something to check out. But by all means, make a pit stop here first at the Seamaster's Collector's Guide. And that's what's up. Wow, what a great website. And yeah, that Etsy deal, I'm gonna take a run at that when I get home later today. I'll talk to those guys, see what's up. And if this is a watch that appeals to you, you could, get one of those. Or there's also Mark II, Bill Yao's company. He is known for making watches that pay tribute to glorious pieces from the past. Not just Omega, but Rolex, a bunch of others. Some really great production. I think he uses ETA movements or Sellita, so high quality movements, high quality work. His team did one based on this watch, and they called it the Project 300. I believe there was a date and a no date as well. And I almost picked up one of those. I wanted to. They pop and then they sell immediately around 1800, which is a lot for what we're talking about. But it is a proper tribute to this watch, down to the scale of everything and whatnot. It's another one that's worth checking out. I've owned some Mark II watches over the years. I own the Vantage, which is an Explorer tribute, and I also own their LRRP Capstone, which is a Rolex Explorer 2 tribute. And that watch was a really neat watch too. It wore big on me. And the interesting thing about that watch, that I think what Bill Yao tries to do is maybe improve upon the design. The bezel rotated, and it had 300 meters of water resistance, whereas the Rolex Explorer 2 bezel was stationary and only 200 meters. So I thought it was neat that he kind of took the original design and improved upon it. Yeah, it doesn't have the same heritage, and the design aesthetic is borrowed. I think it's pretty cool. So that is one to watch, one to check out as well. So if you end up getting one of these, whether it's WatchCo, OG, or Frank and Etsy, let me know. Drop me a comment. Let's talk about it. Let's share this hobby of ours with one another and enjoy it together. Let's enjoy the ride. So that's all I got for this one today. Hope you and yours are doing well, and God bless. All right, peace. Lock knot. Who's there? Dishes. Dishes who? Dishes Sean Connery, open the damn door. My favorite joke.